I'm Victoria and this is What Victoria Read. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and you've got me on the 3rd of January with crazy hair, cleaning shirt on because our house is in chaos, and books stacked everywhere. We have been away for a couple of days, as you've probably noticed from the opening of the vlog. We went to Devon for New Year, which was absolutely blissful. It was just the two of us in a cabin next to a river. It was, I was living my best life. And then, as you've also probably seen from the clips, we have got a new little addition to our family. As of right now, she doesn't have a name. We keep kind of veering between Iris, which we really like. Iris was the goddess of rainbows. It's also the title of a song by the Goo Goo Dolls that's really important to Gary and I. We also really like Nova because it means new. And I really like Loki because she's very sweet, but she's definitely trouble. I feel like she's going to be a big huntress. And yeah, she's just very sweet. So yeah, we are getting to know her. We are starting to integrate her and Jack, which I won't lie, didn't go well this morning. There was hissing from him, which is surprising because he's not a particularly hissy cat. But we are working on that. And I go back to work tomorrow. Gary goes back to work tomorrow. Charlie goes back to school. So it's that last day of the holidays where I'm trying to frantically catch up on laundry and housework and all the stuff I've been ignoring for the last week and a half. Is happening today. However, I have already finished a book. I read this whole book in one go on New Year's Day. It was absolutely blissful. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. That book was Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman. This was gifted to me by Danny for my birthday, and I've been so worried about reading it that I was putting it off. It was the perfect start to the year. So this is the 3rd book published in the Practical Magic series, but it's the first book chronologically. So we start in 16. Oh, there goes the gift note. 16. Oh, I've also still got my bookmark in here. Leanne's beautiful Peter Pan bookmark. Where did we start in time? 16 something. 1664, when a baby is found in the woods. And that is really all I'm going to tell you. That's the gift note. Really all I'm going to tell you about it, because I just think it's beautifully written. It's about natural magic, it's about women, it's about finding yourself, it's about being yourself, it's about love, and yeah, I absolutely devoured this. I already want to reread it. It was the perfect start to the month and a perfect start to my reading year. It's the 9th of January and we're just accepting the fact that I look like a thumb today because it's Sunday. I'm cleaning. This is what I look like. I've got this really great cat pyjama top that my mum bought me for Christmas that I'm obsessed with. It's so soft. And I have got 4 books to talk about, 2 that I've finished and 2 that I've DNF'd. It's been a bit of a slumpy week. I'm also in this different angle. I don't usually sit here, you're perched on our sofa, because just there, and I'm hoping she might jump down, although she looks like she's about to fall asleep, is Molly, who is the newest addition to our family. You'll have seen some clips of her in the previous montage, I think. I've taken loads of B-roll of her. We picked her up on the 2nd of January from Bath Cats and Dogs Home, and we are obsessed with her. We wanted months ago to get a second cat, decided we were ready. And so I put in an application for us to adopt again from Bath Cats and Dogs Home. So this is our 3rd time. My previous cat, Cassidy, came from there over a decade ago now. We then adopted Jack from there 3.5 years ago. And when we felt like he was ready and settled, we decided to go ahead and adopt again. And it took months of me checking the website several times a day, because with a cat already in the house, it's obviously a more complicated process to find a suitable cat to kind of pair with him. And then on the 30th of December, I saw this little face pop up on there called Tinsel. It said that she was 2 years old, that she's female, that she's playful and cuddly and affectionate. And I don't think I've ever dialed a number so quickly. So yeah, we had quite a tense overnight waiting for them to call us back. We got a call back on New Year's Eve saying yes, they thought that she would work for us, and if we wanted her we could come and get her on the 2nd, which we did. And yeah, we've now had her for a week, and she's just very sweet. She's up there like dozing because it's that time of day. She's definitely not 2 years old. I know it's always an estimate that they give, but I would be surprised if she's any more than a year old, because she's very kitten-like and she's very small. She was found straying in a nearby town, which is absolutely heartbreaking, and like the local neighbourhood had been feeding her, and then when it got really cold, they called the home held her for the 2 weeks they're required to in case somebody comes forward for her, and then we apparently rang on the day that she went up on the website. So I feel like she was meant to be ours. Jack hates her. Jack has always been very chill, and there's several neighbourhood cats that come in and out of our house all the time, and he doesn't bat an eyelid, and he always, you know, plays with them. And we were hoping that if we got another cat, a permanent cat in our house, you know, it would be someone for him to play with, because he's about 5 but he's still very playful. So far it's been pretty bumpy, which I'm told is normal. This is the 2nd day that we've let Molly out free rein in the house. Like, we've shut the cat flap and put litter trays down for Jack as well, which we did yesterday. And yesterday was a bit hit and miss. We've not had any actual like physical contact between them, but from Jack there's been a lot of hissing and spitting, which is upsetting. Molly doesn't care, she just walks past him and is a bit like, what's up with you? But yes, I'm told this is normal. And he does seem to be settled, a bit more settled today. He's been finding himself, and I've made sure, because he's very much a mummy's boy, I've made sure that he's had all the usual like cuddles and attention from me. So we'll just keep doing that and we'll see what happens. But even if we don't get to the point where they play, if they could just coexist calmly in the house together, that is all I'm aiming for at the moment. So yes, that's what's been going on. She's definitely falling asleep. She's so cute. And yes, just, you know, our new little addition for 2022. Okay, books is what you're actually here for, not cats. Although I seem to get comments when I put cat content in that you guys enjoy it, so that's our little cat update. So yes, I've got 4 books to talk about. Like I said, I finished 2, DNF'd 2. I felt very slumpy in the last week, and I think it's just the usual January blues. It's just that kind of back to work stuff. I've been in work almost all week. Tuesday to Friday I was at work. All of the kids are back Monday. We just had upper school in because of the, apologies for that, I had a phone call come in. Yeah, we had just the lower school in at the end of the week because of the COVID testing. Everybody else is back on Monday, so that's kind of like the proper start, and I'm feeling a little bit nervous about it, but I'm sure it'll be okay. We've got a new timetable as well, so I have to get used to that. But anyway, I felt a bit meh. So yes, but let's talk about these books. So the first one that I finished was The Serial Killer's Wife by Alice Hunter. This was one of Chloe's picks. Apparently Sunday morning is when all of my family calls me. As it says on the front, they're saying he's a monster and they're saying she knew. This one I gave 3 stars. It was okay. It's a debut, and now I'm getting a voicemail. That's ideal. I really need to remember to put my phone on airplane mode when I'm trying to film. Yes, this was fine. It was a debut, and I would definitely read the next book from this author. I just felt like it was super predictable. I really didn't like the main character, and that made it difficult to care about what was happening to her. And I also felt like the twists were really obvious. I also think that if you ask me about this book in a month's time, I won't be able to remember the details. So it was okay. It was kind of an easy start of the year read. Like if you want a book where you don't really have to think about it, I'd pick this up. It's a little bit Gone Girl-ish, in that you've got such an unlikable main character, but I just really struggled. And I also didn't like the end, but I think it was because I just didn't care about her by that point. It's interesting. It brings up some interesting ideas. There are a few good plot twists in it. I think if you're someone that reads a lot of thrillers, you'll probably spot them coming a mile off. But it was fine. It was a 3-star read for me, which, you know, this kind of book is usually a 3 or 4 star. So yeah, I would read more from the author because I feel like her writing will probably develop. But this one didn't blow me away. And then I DNF'd 2 books in the space of 24 hours. So the first one that I DNF'd was The Woods Are Always Watching by Stephanie Perkins. This was sent to me very kindly by Book Break. It just didn't work for me. I read about 50 pages and I was so bored that I DNF'd it, because nothing was happening. It's about 2 friends who are about to go off to college and they decide to go on like a last hike together, and that's as far as I got because I just got really bored. I didn't care about either of the girls. Like, this is only a short book, so I was expecting a really fast pace and it was just too slow and I didn't have the patience for it, quite honestly. So I DNF'd that one. And then the other one that I DNF'd I've got on my post-it note because it was a audiobook, and that was The Other Passenger by Louise Candlish. I've read a couple of her books now and I think I just need to accept that she isn't for me, because this is about a man who gets a boat to work in London every day, and one day when he gets off the boat, the police are waiting for him there because another passenger is missing and he was the last one seen with that man alive. And we kind of go back in time to see how we ended up at this point, and I just didn't care about any of the characters. They were all awful. Like, our protagonist was a terrible person, the person that got missing was a terrible person. I was just like, I don't care about any of you and I don't want to read about you. That was a bit of a rant. So let's get rid of this notification. So I DNF'd at 36%. So I gave it a good try, but no, it just wasn't for me. And then the book that I finished last night, and now I'm getting another notification, professional booktuber, was Clara and the Sun by Kazu Ishiguro. So this wasn't one of Chloe's picks. This was a carryover from December. This is one of the books that my brother gave me for Christmas. I adore Kazu Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. It's one of the most beautifully written books. Like, if I had to put together a list of like the top 10 books in terms of like literary merit and the way it makes me feel, that would be on that list. This was okay. I've given it 4 stars, and I think it's partly because it was this author. I would say it's a low 4 stars. It's probably more like a 3.75. But we're following Clara, who is an AF, which is an artificial friend, and she is chosen one day by a little girl. Well, actually, I think she's a teenage girl, young teenage girl. And it's about her life with her. And parts of this were beautiful, parts of it were really thought-provoking. I saw the plot twist coming a mile off, and I feel like it's one of those books where if you knew the plot twist earlier on, you'd probably care a lot more about the rest of the narrative. So yeah, I got a little bit bored. I did skim read parts of this, but also other parts of it were so gorgeous, I had to give it 4 stars. So yeah, it's been kind of a mixed reading week, but we did get a new cat. It's the 16th of January. Here comes a cat. This is Molly. She's very bouncy. It's the 16th of January, and despite the opening to this clip, it has been a really, really hard week. First week back to school is always hard. Readjusting to the pressure is always difficult. We've got a brand new timetable, which I always struggle with. kind of getting my head around and like transitioning from one class to another, and I've got more teaching hours this term. So yeah, it's been a really hard week. My mental health was really low in the middle of the week, and on Wednesday I was having cluster anxiety attacks, which hasn't happened to me for such a long time. And that was just really tough. It was, yeah, started after school thankfully, but I think it'd been building all day and just went on through the afternoon, the evening and overnight. And yeah, I felt physically so rough. I've actually been really surprised when my COVID tests have been negative. Surprised but grateful, just to be clear. So it's been a hard week. And then yesterday, Saturday, it's Sunday today, Jack started showing signs of distress and crying and running around, and we ended up at the emergency vets, and it turns out he's got a urine infection, which could be from the stress of having Molly, so I was feeling really guilty. Leanne was texting me furiously being like, it's not that, don't feel bad, it can just happen. And it might not necessarily be Molly per se, but like the change in his routine, because at the moment he is shut in during the day so that she can be in the house with litter trays down, and then at night we're putting her to bed and letting him outside. But whatever it is, he's in pain and distressed, so yesterday was really hard. He's fine now. We've got him on Metacam. He's got a week of that, which is a painkiller and antibiotic, and he seems much brighter already. But yeah, yesterday was tough. It was supposed to be a relaxing day and it just turned into a bit of an ordeal. So it's not been my best week. Today we are going, it's just Gary and I this weekend, we're going to go to Bristol. We've got a few chores to do and a few like gift vouchers that we want to spend that we got for Christmas, and we're going to have lunch and stuff. So I decided to put one of my Joni dresses on that I haven't actually worn yet, which is this really cute like midnight Halloweeny print, and I've been saving it for next Halloween, and I was like, why am I saving this? I got it in the sale. I got it for like, I think it was £8, and I was like, why am I saving it? Just wear it. So yeah, I've decided to put it on today, so I feel a little bit, you know, swishy. And we're gonna go have some food, have a little bit of a date today, because we've been a bit like ships in the night this week, because I leave before he gets up, and then I come home, we have dinner, I pretty much go to bed. So we're going to spend some time together today, which will be lovely. I've got cat hair, like there's cat hair everywhere in my house now. 2 black cats, black hair everywhere. But I did finish a book this week. I'm in the middle of 5 books, which is also indicative of my mental state, because I keep just starting books and then putting them down. But I did finish one, and that is What Lies Between Us by John Mars. This was one of Chloe's picks. This was gifted to me for my birthday by Jilly at Books and Cats, so thank you very much, Jilly. I had this on my, seriously, I've got cat hair somewhere on my face and it's obnoxious. I put this on my wish list because I read the one by John Mars 2 years ago, I think, 2.5 years ago, and loved it, thought it was amazing, gave it 5 stars. And then this was another one that I was really intrigued by, because we have 2 women living in a house. One of them, they have dinner together every night, and then, or every other night, and then one of them helps the other one back upstairs to the attic, and she chains her into her room because the one that's been chained has done something to the other one and we don't know what it is. This was okay. I think I gave it 4 stars when I initially finished reading it, but I think I'm gonna have to drop it down to a 3. I really like the setup. I'm not going to say any more about the story because it'd be really easy to give spoilers. I really liked the setup. I liked the exploration. You can probably hear Gary getting ready in the background. I liked the exploration of mental health and motherhood and trauma. There's a lot of content warnings for this book, so please check those before you pick it up. I just didn't like where it went. It felt like it could have gone in one direction and kind of had quite a profound and interesting thing to say about mental health, and instead it kind of went in a different direction that annoyed me. I also felt like there were plot holes that were really obvious, and yeah, it was fine. It was a quick read. It was entertaining enough. I still enjoy John Mars as an author. I want to read some more of his work. For me, I think it's too long. There was also some problems with the pacing. I would have taken probably 50 or 60 pages out and redone the ending. But it was interesting. It was an okay time, and it was 3 stars. It's the 23rd of January. I look like a thumb, and I've set this up so you can see a list tray there, but I was trying to not show you my ironing board. So, you know. So it's been another week. I have not sat down to film again, as you've seen. Almost all of those clips that you've just seen in the montage are from last Sunday when Gary and I had a very lovely little like date day out to Bristol. And then I don't even really want to talk about that much because it's just been another like week of avalanche of stuff from school. But yesterday I was going to film, and then Jack decided to go AWOL all day. He's back now, but we spent all of yesterday calling for him, walking around the estate, like putting stuff outside that smelt like us, you know, putting him on all the local Facebook groups, knocking doors, all that kind of stuff. It was awful. He's not the kind of cat that kind of goes wandering off and then comes back a few days later. He is a real homebody. So yeah, it was a really awful day yesterday. So I didn't film because, to be honest, I was crying on and off all day. And then he strolled in at about 3 a.m, covered in grit. Not a scratch on him, absolutely fine, just absolutely starving. So he probably just got stuck somewhere. Yeah, so he's now next door in Charlie's room sleeping that off. And we're all trying to basically just calm down a bit. But I do have a stack of books. One thing I have been doing this week is reading. So I've got 4 books that I've finished, and then 2 books that have come into my TBR. So obviously I thought I'd talk about that. I'm just looking up here because Molly's just up there sleeping, and she's just rolled over onto her back. She's ridiculously cute. I can't even cope. Right, let's talk about books. So the first one I finished was Clean by Juno Dawson. It's got this very beautiful, you can see yourself there. That's the camera. That's the book you're resting on. It's a very beautiful cover. So this was my 3rd Juno Dawson. I've read Wonderland, and I've read the Bloody Mary one. What's that called? Is that listed in here? So this is my 3rd one. Say Her Name, very creepy, definitely recommend. So this is my 3rd one, and as it says on the front, it says Gossip Girl goes to rehab, and we are following, is it Lexi? Yes, points for me for remembering a protagonist's name. We're following Lexi, who is 15 or 16, and it starts with her being dropped off by her brother to this very exclusive rehab because she has almost died of a heroin overdose. Accidental overdose, and it's about her recovery, it's about her life, it's about her as a person. I adored this. I was texting Chloe, because obviously this is one that she picked for me. I was texting Chloe after the first 50 pages, and I was like, I'm really cross that I have to go to bed because I want to keep reading. I thought it was going to be a 5-star. The first 100 pages I was like, it's going to be a 5-star read, but I felt like there was a bit of a lag in the middle. So it didn't quite have that 5-star feeling for me, but it was a very strong 4. I thought it was really well done. I really liked the way that it looked at mental health, the way it looked at recovery, and about how recovery is not linear. Lexi is a terrible person for a lot of it, but she knows that and kind of owns it, and you're still on her side. So yes, check content warnings for this, because there are quite a few, including overdose, drug misuse, eating disorders, self-injury. I think there are discussions of suicide, but we don't see it on the page. It's quite a heavy one. It does say on the back for readers of 14 plus, so it's the top end of YA. Even though it says 14 plus, I would probably not give this to anyone younger than 15, because some of it's quite tough. But yes, I thought it was fantastic. I cannot wait to read more Juno Dawson. I've got another one on my TBR from her. Is it listed in here? It's no, it must have come after this. It's the one that's about modelling or something. I can't remember what it's called now, but that's on my TBR. I'm excited to pick that up. And yeah, I just really enjoy Juno Dawson's writing. Then I've got a post-it note because I read an audiobook, so I picked up The Mother Fault by Kate Mildenhall and listened to that on Scribed. So this was a random book that StoryGraph recommended me. I've started using StoryGraph. I'm still using GoodReads as well. Both are linked in the description. I'm updating both every day. Quite enjoying it so far. I quite like all the pie charts and stuff. So far I'm a bit like, yeah, is it that much better than GoodReads? But anyway, it asked me what kind of thing I was looking for. And my audiobooks, I just pick up at random. I don't keep a list. Sometimes if there's a physical book on my TBR and I see it on Scribed, I might listen to it and read along. But generally, I use my audiobooks for kind of mood reading. And I'd finished my audiobook, didn't know what to pick up next. And so I thought, oh, we'll try the StoryGraph like recommendation thing, and it asked me what I was looking for, and I just asked for dystopian and dark, and it came up with this, and it delivered. So it's set in Australia. It's sort of a future. We don't really know where we are in time, but it's in an Australia where the department run everything and everyone is constantly surveilled. Everybody's got a chip in this bit of their hand that's implanted at birth, so that they can be tracked at all times, know where they are, all that kind of stuff. And I can't remember what the protagonist is called, but the protagonist, the woman, her husband goes missing, basically, and she is then visited by the department, who threaten to take her children away if she can't take care of them. And so she decides to run away, go off grid, and go and find her husband. So she decides to travel to like where he was last seen. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Gave it 4 stars. Again, I had a bit of a pacing issue with the middle. There was also, it's a mild spoiler, there's a kind of unnecessary romance element to it. And although the world building was set up really well, I thought in the first kind of, I was going to say 50 pages, but I listened to it on audio, so like the first 45 minutes or whatever, the beginning, there was some really strong world building, but it didn't quite go far enough, and I felt like it didn't quite build up the menace of the department enough to like have the stakes be high enough. However, very much enjoyed it. I'm going to look into more from that author, and yeah, it was a good time. Then I finished a book that I've been reading for a year. So you're probably like, what is that? Because you know what I'm like, if I start a book, I'll finish it or DNF it. But I finished reading A Poem of Every Day of the Year by edited by Ali Aziri. And yeah, I've obviously picked this up in January last year. Does what it says on the tin. So every single day you've got a different poem. You get an explanation of what that, like why that one's been chosen. Then you get the poem. And it's been really good for me because if you were watching my vlogs last year, I struggle with teaching poetry because I struggle with connecting with it. So having this every day was really good just to like dip in and out of. I've come across some really interesting stuff. I think I gave it 4 stars. I think there is a lot of, sorry, my stomach is really rumbling. There's a lot of dead white guys in here, which is frustrating but not surprising. So I think it could have been a bit more diverse. But there are some beautiful poems in here, and yeah, it's been really nice just to kind of dip in and out of. And then my favourite poem from here is one that I already knew, which is Warning by Jenny Joseph, which was on the 8th of March, which is International Women's Day. I'm just going to read it to you because it's short. It's still one of my favourite poems of all time. So it's this. When I'm an old woman, I shall wear purple, with a red hat which doesn't go and doesn't suit me, and I shall spend my pension on brandy and summer gloves and satin sandals and say we've no money for butter. I shall sit down on the pavement when I'm tired and gobble up samples in shops and press alarm bells and run my stick along the public railings and make up for the sobriety of my youth. I shall go out in my slippers in the rain and pick the flowers in other people's gardens and learn to spit. You can wear terrible shirts and grow more fat and eat 3 pounds of sausages at a go, or only bread and pickle for a week, and hoard pens and pencils and beer mats and things in boxes. But now we must have clothes that keep us dry and pay our rent and not swear in the street and set a good example for the children. We must have friends to dinner and read the papers. But maybe I ought to practice a little now, so people who know me are not too shocked and surprised when I am suddenly old and start to wear purple. Which I just love. Oh, I just love that poem. It's one that I quote a lot with my kids. So yes, gave that 4 stars. Finally got that finished. I'm currently reading Shakespeare for Every Day of the Year, which my darling husband bought me for Christmas. So you'll see that in December's wrap up. And then I read my reread for the month. And yes, so my reread for the month was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, one of the biggest books on Booktube in the last 2 or 3 years. I gave it 5 stars the first time. This time I gave it a 4. Yeah. So this is, in case this is your first time on Booktube, hello, welcome. Other people look more glamorous than me, but this is how we are here. So Evelyn Hugo is a huge movie star, and she's in her 70s, and she contacts a journalist and basically tells them that she's ready to tell her life story, and then she tells the story of her life, kind of focusing around the 7 husbands that she's had. And the first time I read it on audiobook, and I think that might be why I gave it 5 stars, because I have a habit of getting really into audiobooks if I really like the narrator, and sometimes that makes my rating slightly higher than it would be, and I think that's the case here. I was talking to Charlotte about it, and she did point out that like I knew what the twist was, but I don't think that's affecting my rating. I still really enjoyed it. It's beautifully written and it's cleverly done. And actually I liked going along and being like, oh, actually there's that clue and I missed it last time. I got bored partway through, and I know there'll be people that will want to throw things at me for that comment, but I got a little bit bored and I felt like the ending was rushed. Like we spent all this time on the first like 3 or 4 husbands, and then the last 3 we just sort of skipped through them. I also found Monique, who is the reporter, really quite annoying and quite dull, and I didn't enjoy her sections. So yeah, I gave this 4 stars on reread, and I might now have to leave the internet. So there's that. And then 2 books really quickly, because I just realised I've been talking for 11 minutes already. 2 books arrived from Book Break this week, which is fantastic. Thank you very much for sending these through. They're 2 arcs, but they both come out at the start of February. And because they arrived a bit late, I'm not going to have time to read them before their release date, but I will read them. I'll go onto my TBR and I'll read them eventually. So the first one is We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lange. And it says, some secrets will keep you from your family, some you keep for them. And it says fans of intense family dramas are in for a treat, and it's also perfect. I can't read today. It's also apparently perfect for fans of Maggie O'Farrell and John Boyne, which sounds good. Sign me up. And then the other one is The Midwife by Tricia Cresswell, and it was the winner of the My Miss Lexia debut novel award. Oh, sorry, I should have said this one comes out on the 3rd of February, and this one comes out on the 17th. This looks very intriguing. It's kind of giving me like other Bennett sister vibes. And it says she'll search forever to discover her true identity. He'll strive endlessly to hide his. And it's historical fiction where it's 1838 on the Northumberland moors. And it says a haunting and moving debut. Oh, The Midwife is perfect for fans of The Familiars and The Other Bennett Sister. So yeah, these both look really intriguing. Thank you very much, Book Break, for sending them my way. Another weekend, another shot of me looking like a thumb. It's Sunday again, so it's the 30th of January, and yeah, I really haven't felt like filming, so I haven't been. So I've not been a very good vlogger this month, for which I do apologise. Although I've had a few questions about these headbands. I bought them in a multi-pack on Amazon, to be honest. If I can find the link, I'll put it in the description of the video. But yeah, they just very slightly jazz up my thumbness. I have got 4 books to talk about, 3 that I finished and then 1 new one that's come into my collection. So we'll talk about the books I finished first. The first one of those was His Only Wife by Peace Adzo Mehdi. This was sent to me by Chloe. She sent it to me with a really lovely note a while ago, because she'd been part of a read-along, I think, for it, and thought that I would like it, and then obviously she picked it for my TBR. I really enjoyed this. This wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be about. I thought it was about a married couple where they've not been able to have a baby, and then he is persuaded to take on an extra wife, so that he can have children. And maybe I'm mixing that up with a different story. So if there's a novel that is that storyline and you know about it, just drop me a comment and let me know, because I would like to read that one. This one, we're following a girl called Affie. That was it. I was like, is it Affie or Effie? It's Affie, who marries this very rich man who is being forced into marriage by his family because he has already set up home with a girlfriend that his family don't like, and they've had a daughter, and his family are trying to extricate him from this other woman. And we follow Effie, and I thought it was going to be about their relationship, and it is a little bit about her kind of building this relationship with this man, but mostly it's about her and her kind of coming to know herself and understand herself, and it's very much coming of age, it feels like, and kind of her carving a space for herself in the world, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. This is a debut, and I will definitely look for more from the author. I gave it 4 stars. The only reason I didn't give it 5 is I felt like the pace was a little bit draggy, in sort of the, like, between the halfway point and the end. Like the first 150 pages I flew through, and then it felt like it slowed down a little bit, and then I liked the end, but there was a little bit of drag in the middle, so I couldn't give it 5 stars, but I gave it a very solid 4, and yeah, I really enjoyed this one, so thank you for that, Chloe. Then I read Rainbow Grey by Laura Ellen Anderson. I just want to check who sent me this because I'm pretty sure it was a birthday present. Who was it from? Yes, it was a birthday present from Laura and her bookish thoughts. So thank you so much for this, Laura. And it's got the beautiful sprayed edges. This was so much fun. And Chloe said in the email when she sent me the TBR that she was sending it because it would be a breath of fresh air. And I've read quite a lot of like heavy, dark books this month, which overall, like on the whole, I've really enjoyed. But this was genuinely a breath of fresh air. And I just smiled the whole way through reading this. This is middle grade, but it's very much the lower end of middle grade. And we are following Ray, and she lives in the, is it called the Weatherlands? I can't remember. Yeah, Weatherlands. And she kind of watches everybody else have magic, and she doesn't have any magic, and the magic that people have controls the weather on Earth. And then one day something happens and she ends up on this massive adventure, and I just thought this was wonderful. I gave it 5 stars. There is a lot of like mentions of bottoms and kind of that like quite young like toilet humour, which is fine because that's the audience that it's for. And I actually read some of this to my year 7s over the couple of weeks. It says on GoodReads that it took me like 2 weeks to read it. I mean, it's middle grade, I could have read it in one go, but I was reading it with and to some of my year 7s, and they were just having the best time with it as well, which was so nice to see. And yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I would really love, the second book is coming out shortly, so I have put that on my TBR. And this was just so fun. It was fun, and it was easy, and it was a bit silly, and it's got some nice messages in it. What else could you need from a middle grade? That was a 5 star for me. And then I've just finished the audiobook for How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie, which I picked up at random because I just happened to see it on Scribd. And it was a book that I saw a little bit about at the end of last year when it came out. There was a bit of buzz about it, and I really enjoyed it. It reminded me of Sweet Pea. So we're following a girl called Grace, who we start out, she's in prison, and she's explaining to you basically why she's there. And she says at the outset that she is in prison for a crime that she didn't commit, but she says, well, I have actually killed 6 people, but nobody's ever caught me for it. And then we go back in time and kind of see how she's ended up there and what's happened along the way. And I thought most of it was really funny. It was really cleverly written. There were some genuinely like laugh out loud moments. And a bit like Sweet Pea, you kind of think, I should not be on your side. I should not be agreeing with this, but I am. So I thought it was very cleverly done. However, there is something that happens later in the book that I thought was really unnecessary, and I really didn't like the way it was done. So I can't give it 5 stars, but it's a 4. I mean, I think it's probably more like a 3.5, but I don't give half stars, so I rounded up to a 4. But I definitely enjoyed it, and I will look for more from that author. And I would also really like to get, if I see a cheap copy somewhere, I would definitely grab one for my collection. And then a book, speaking of collection, one of the books that came in this week was The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. This is actually not my copy, this is my lovely mother-in-law's. So I'm shifting. There's not very much space where I'm sat between the bed and the wall. So my mother-in-law and I share books. So every month when I finish my TBR, I send her a picture. I'm like, which of these would you like? And then she picks some books, and then obviously she comes and gets them, or I take them to her, or whatever. And this time she sent me one back. We both really enjoyed The Thursday Murder Club, and I was waiting for the paperback of this book because I've only got Thursday Murder Club in paperback. I can't have a paperback and a hardback of a series in my collection. It just doesn't work for my brain. But she decided to buy this for herself and then very kindly lent it to me, so I'm really excited to read this. I haven't even really looked at, ooh, look at the end pages. Oh, this is very cool. I don't even really know what the story is about. I don't want to know, I just want to go into it blind. But the Thursday Murder Club was following 4 people who live in a retirement village, 4 or 5 of them? 4 of them. And a murder that happened. And this is the follow-up, and yeah, I'm really excited for this, but nobody tell me what it's about. Molly. And those are almost all the books I read in January. It's now the 5th of February and I'm coming in to finish the vlog. I've got my Meow or Never jumper on today, and as you can see, I'm in my filming space, so I thought I'd take advantage of the fact that I don't look like a thumb to have a nicer clip to finish off this vlog. So I've got one more book to talk about to kind of wrap up. I'm then going to do the stats, and then that'll be it for this video. I've also got both cats behind the camera. They're both on the sofa trying really hard to distract me. So if you can hear them moving about, Jack's currently cleaning himself. Sorry about that, but that is the reality of my life. So the last book that I read in January was The Wicked Deep by Shea Earnshaw. So this was gifted to me by Chloe. So I finished my TBR that Chloe had set, and then I was going to text her and say, can you choose me another book? But actually, this was the oldest book on my TBR. It's from June last year, and it's from Chloe, so it seemed like the right book to pick up. So she sent me this. Now Molly's playing with the curtain. Molly, she is really trying to distract me today. Is she climbing it? No, she stopped, thankfully. Right, so Chloe sent me this in June saying, congratulations, Victoria. I'm so proud of you for passing your PGCE. You've put in so much work into this and you 1000% deserve it. You're going to actually absolutely smash being a teacher, from Chloe, which is such a lovely thing to say. So yeah, I felt like the right book to pick up, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. So this is set in a town called Sparrow. Now the cats are playing with each other. That's good. I mean, it's nice that they're playing, but I'm trying to film. But anyway, we're in a town called Sparrow, and 200 years ago or something, 200 years ago, that town drowned 3 girls, accused them of being witches, and drowned 3 girls. And now every year the girls come back from under the water. They take over the bodies of 3 teenage girls, and they spend 3 weeks drowning boys in the water in the bay. And we're following Penny, and I really enjoyed this. It's my first Shea Earnshaw. It will not be the last. I really want to read her other stuff. It was really cleverly done. You coming on camera, Moles? She's like, no, I'm just going to distract you and walk past. Yes, it was really cleverly done. It's all about sisterhood and grief and family and kind of what it means to be alive. And there was a plot twist that I didn't spot, which I absolutely love. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll have seen the moment it happened, because I was genuinely freaking out. And I almost gave it 5 stars just for that. But I didn't quite get that 5-star feeling by the end. I felt like the end was really rushed, and there was a little bit in the middle where I was like, come on. So there were a few pacing issues. However, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will definitely read more from this author. And yeah, it's definitely what I'm going to come back to. It's a really good witchy kind of book. So yeah, highly recommend that one. Okay, let's do stats and get this video wrapped up. So in January, I've got my beautiful new notebook. I don't know. What are words? So I read 12 books in January. I read 4,360 pages, which is really good, but it's slightly lower than I would normally read. About 141 a day. I'm usually around 150, 160 a day, a bit more in the holidays, but anyway. Average star rating was 3.83. And my favourite read of the month, I don't think it will come as any surprise to anybody what my favourite read of the month was, and that was Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman. Sorry, Moles is back. I absolutely adored this book with my entire heart and soul. I definitely read it at the right time. I'm so glad I saved it as my first read of 2022. And yeah, I can't recommend this series and Alice Hoffman enough. A few people have asked me, now we've got the postman coming, a few people have asked me online about which order you should read them in. If you read them in publication order, it's Practical Magic, Rules of Love, Magic Lessons, and then the new one, which I haven't got yet. However, if you read them in the chronological story order, I think it's the new one, Magic Lessons, then Rules of Magic, Rules of Love, Rules of Magic, I think it is. Yeah, the Rules of Magic, and then Practical Magic. So it's up to you. I've read them obviously in the order that they've been published as they've come out, and I've just absolutely adored it. So yes, I really, really love this book. And I think it was Danny that sent me this for Christmas, for my birthday. Yeah, she did. Daniela sent this to me. So thank you so much again, Daniela. It was beautiful. Oh, are you? No, she's just running across. She's like, I've got no interest in your camera, thanks. My most disappointing read of the month was definitely The Serial Killer's Wife. The more I've thought about it, I think I gave it 3 stars at the time, and the more I think about it, I think it's probably more of a 2. It was pacey, and that's about the only good thing about it. I really didn't enjoy it, and yeah, this one I think will be going out fairly quickly. I think my mother-in-law wants to read it, and then probably after that it will get donated, because yeah, it really wasn't the one for me. So there's that. And then my TBR is currently standing at 71 books, which I think is manageable. I think I've said before, my comfort zone is about 50, so we're still a little way outside of that, but hopefully a month or 2 of good reading, and you know, it will come down a bit. And yeah, January, what a month January was. I say this at the end of every month. January is always really hard. It's definitely the toughest month of the year. It's dark all the time. Christmas is over. In terms of school, it feels like we have got the bulk of the year, the academic year ahead of us, and it's all just a bit tough. And yeah, I've struggled quite a bit this month with my brain, but there's also been some lovely things. Molly has been such a highlight this month. Watching her and Jack become friends has been so lovely, and I'm going to try in February and get more footage of them playing together, because it's just the loveliest thing now. And yeah, it hasn't all been bad. I've read some good books. Thank you again to Chloe for choosing my TBR. You did a cracking job. I really enjoyed most of what I read, and I'm really glad I've read those books, even the ones that I didn't quite love. I'm kind of glad that I've read them and got them off my TBR. So thank you. You did a brilliant job, as I knew you would. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm definitely waffling now. So if you got to this point in the video, leave me the little witch emoji for magic lessons, because this book was just everything. I loved it. So yeah, little witch emoji if you got to this point in the video. And yeah, please subscribe if you would like more of this chaos, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks everyone. Bye.